What's up everybody? In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you the 5 defenders that you need to learn before the new season comes out, Operation Solar Raid. Coming into my number 5 spot is going to be Cade. Now, last season, they introduced the new secondary gadget EMP grenades, and with EMP grenades, it's a lot easier to counter Cade. Now, last season, people were still figuring out how to use them and how to manage them wisely, but this season, it's not going to be so forgiving, so you need to actually learn how to play Cade correctly and use his Cade claws correctly to get the maximum efficiency out of them. That way, they're not just getting EMP'd at the beginning of the round, and your utility's not going to waste. So people are now able to know where the default Cade claws are, they're going to know where the special Cade claws are on maps like Clubhouse and Skyscraper, and people are now going to start using utility and drones to be able to see where your Cade claws are to then be able to destroy them with EMP grenades. So you need to be more aware of this. You need to learn uncommon Cade claw spots, you need to learn how to use your Cade claws unpredictably, and you also need to learn how to Cade trick. Cade is an extremely advanced operator that pays out a lot if you know how to use him correctly, and that is why you need to relearn how to play him, being as more players are going to learn how to use EMP grenades correctly in this coming season. Coming into my number 4 spot is going to be Frost. Now, if you don't know, with Operation Solar Raid coming out, they're taking away Alibi's 1.5. What does that have to do with Frost, you might ask? Well, Alibi and Frost on PC ranked lobbies were the top 2 best defenders for solo queue. They brought so much versatility. They had a 1.5 on a great SMG with practically no recoil. They both brought shotguns for sight setups, head holes, etc. They both brought a deployable shield, and they had utility to back up their gunfights and make winning the round a lot easier. It's a very versatile kit that you can use on any sort of player you want to be, whether it be playing more supportive, and that is why Frost and Alibi were such good solo queue operators. Being as it that Alibi lost her 1.5 and they're making it to where Alibi's gadget doesn't activate when it's outside, Frost is going to be a lot better for solo queue than Alibi is in terms of versatility. That being said, if you learn how to use Frost correctly, she can be a force to be reckoned with on attack, especially if you know where to place her frost mats. Putting her frost mats in unconventional and uncommon spots are going to be your best bet. Putting frost mats not under windows, not behind doors, not on staircases, but behind vaultable locations, under rotates, which you can make with your shotgun, by the way, behind your deployable shield, behind couches, in random corners of the room that attackers commonly walk to, or you can put them in really obvious spots and use the sound cue of the attackers shooting the frost mats to get free information that you can then swing off of with your gun and your utility that you have set in place. So Frost is extremely versatile in the way that you can play her. She's very easy to use, brings a lot of utility to the team, and you can do a lot of sight setup with her, and that is why she's so good for solo queue. And you need to relearn her because of Alibi getting nerfed and her pick rate going to soar. Coming into my number 3 spot is going to be Melusi. Now this is a pretty big change. If you don't know, when Operation Solar Raid comes out, they're changing her from a 3 speed and 1 armor to a 1 speed and 3 armor, meaning she is going to be an anchor and not a roamer. Now, the reason you need to relearn Melusi is because people who play as 1 speeds play a lot differently than people who are 3 speeds. So you need to be able to learn how to not only anchor as her and anchor in general, but use her utility in a more anchoristic way than you would in a more solo queuistic way. Melusi's gadget makes it to where they have to slow down their attacker rush a lot unless they want to waste a lot of bulletproof utility, and that is why she's so good. Melusi's utility makes it to where the attackers have to slow down their push a lot due to not only the slow that it provides, but the fact that they have to actually destroy the gadget if they want to pass, meaning that you can get a lot of free and easy gunfights using the information off of her gadget. If you don't know, information is king in a fragger heavy meta, which is what we have this season and what we are going to undoubtedly have in the next season. Having a gun skill and fragger-ish meta makes it to where information is key, because the more information you have, the easier gunfights you're going to get, and you're going to get a better edge on certain people in certain gunfights with the more information you have. A good example is if you drone somebody out and you know they're there, but they don't know where you are, you're obviously going to have the advantage of being able to know where the person is in the gunfight compared to them not knowing where you are, so you're going to get the advantage by pre-firing, not having to quick peek and expose yourself, and overall having an easier gunfight because of the information provided. Melusi does make this a lot easier for you. What you used to do with Melusi is you would put her banshees in spots where you could kind of lurk off-site or near the site and be able to swing off of them if the attackers were rushing or trying to take space. Now what you'll have to do is put your Melusis closer to site and more near to where you're going to be playing as an anchor to be able to swing or get your teammates to swing off of them to make plays and slow down the attacker rush. So not only do you have to change where you're playing and how you're playing due to you now being an anchor, but now you have to change where you put your gadgets and how you play off of your gadgets, including your teammates doing the same, to be able to get the most amount of value that you can get out of playing Melusi. Her being a 3 armor 1 speed versus a 3 speed 1 armor completely changes her playstyle and her gadget's playstyle, and that is why you need to relearn Melusi before the next season comes out. You can do this by going into your ranked games, and even if you are still a 3-speed before the new operation comes out, just sit on site anyways and start using your utility as somebody who is on site more to be able to relearn her so you know how to play her correctly when the new update does come out. Coming into my number 2 spot is going to be Mute. Mute is an extremely good operator in the sense that he has a lot of versatility, just like Alibi and Frost did when I was talking about them in my number 4 spot. Mute has a shotgun for site setup, he has a C4 for denial or a bulletproof camera for information and drone denial, and he has 4 mute jammers for wall denial and drone denial and other utility denial as well. So like I said, very, very versatile, and he can bring site setup. Overall, a really good operator, and it's overall great to know him. Now, like I said earlier in my example when I was talking about Melusi, having any sort of information at all makes it 10 times easier for you to take gunfights. And because we're in a gunfight meta, being able to negate that information is extremely powerful on defense. And that is why playing people like Mute or Mozzie is extremely powerful, and that's why you need to learn Mute. Especially with EMP grenades being in full effect, you need to relearn how you place his jammers. You need to be putting them in smarter places so that they can't just get a lucky EMP on a wall or know exactly where your mute jammer is and it completely go to waste, just like we were talking about with Cade. You also need to learn how to balance wall denial with drone denial because you have 4 jammers, and being able to do this can make you a force to be reckoned with if you're a good Mute player on defense. They also changed him to a 3 armor 1 speed instead of a 2 armor 2 speed. So now you have even more reason to anchor with him and use his utility properly and put your utility in different positions than you would when you first played him. If you were using his mute jammers on the roam to help yourself roam, well, now you're a 3 armor and you can't get away with roaming as easily because you can't run away and give up space when you've been droned and put pressure on as easily as a 3 speed would be able to. His short range guns also make it to where you need to be sitting on site anyways because you're only able to reliably take up close gunfights, being that he only has the SMG-11 and shotgun combo. Now, you could run the MP5, but they took his 1.5 times scope away, so now he doesn't even have that, which also makes it to where he needs to be playing close to mid-range, which is something that you need to be doing on site. If you take gunfights on site, the attackers have to come to you and they have to close the distance onto you to be able to take gunfights with you, and that's why people with SMG-11s, shotguns, only 1-time sights are best suited for anchoring, especially now that he's a 3 armor and you can deny information with his jammers. He's an extremely good anchorer and you need to learn him and how to play him correctly before this new season comes out. And then finally, coming into my number 1 spot, the number 1 defender that you need to learn before the new Operation Solo Raid is Bandit. Now, why is it Bandit? Typically over the past few seasons, Bandit hasn't been seen as that good of an operator, right? He's kind of mid, he gets outshined by people like Mute and by Cade. Now, as you know, last season, they introduced EMP grenades, and the only person that can reliably counter EMP grenades is Bandit because of bandit tricking. And if you don't know, seasons before that, they made Bandit to where he can put multiple bandit charges on a wall, which inherently made Bandit easier to bandit trick with. What you do is you just put a bandit on each wall, you sit in the middle, and then once one of your bandits go out, you put another one on, and that's bandit tricking. You don't have to shoot your other bandit charge, or you don't have to take it off the wall. You just put another one on, because now you can put 2 on the wall. And EMP grenades made it a lot harder for keeping walls closed because you don't need a Thatcher anymore. You can bring utility and EMP grenades, so bandit tricking was an extremely way to counter this. And now, like I said, for the Cade example and the Mute example, people are not going to be forgiving with EMP grenades as much anymore because it's not a new thing. People are starting to settle into the meta more, so you need to be able to be a reliable bandit player. Not only that, but the new operator Solis on defense is coming out in Operation Solar Raid, and she helps extremely easily with bandit tricking as she can see which side of the wall the thermite's going to be on. So now you don't even need to have a bandit on one wall. You can literally just put a bandit on whichever one they're going to put a thermite, an ace, or a Habana on, and you can easily keep walls closed if you're a good bandit player. With the amount of EMP devices there are, people are not going to be banning Thatcher anymore because other people can just bring his gadget, right? So you have so many EMPs. No one's banning Thatcher. All of these other operators have EMP grenades, so you need to be able to bandit trick or else the wall is probably just going to get opened. And with people settling into the meta and people playing Solis on your team, you bandit tricking can make or break a round by keeping the wall closed reliably and easily if you become a good bandit player. And that is why he is the #1 operator that you need to learn before the next season on this list. With that out of the way, like the video if you liked it. My name's Alka, sub to the channel down below, it helped me out a lot, and I'll see you on the next one. Later.